Hello, everybody, or good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever in the world you find yourself to be. Welcome to the fourth Decom Talks on Twitter Spaces. We're very happy to have with us today Casper from Drunetic. He's one of our first sellers. But before we get into that, I would like to make some brief announcements. And well, first of all, last week we had, during the last talks, that was on the third Decom Talks, we had as guest the people from Big Water. They're a Deepin company, and Deepin, as some of you may know or may not know, stands for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Network. So what Big Water does is they deal with different data, collecting data from the environment, reference to air quality and water quality, and they manufacture this device, which is an air purifier that collects different environmental data. And the owner of the device, it uses it as a sort of a mining device, so that as he contributes data to the Big Water blockchain, he gets crypto in reward. So last week we at Hamza successfully launched the Deepin device, and it's live right now. You can go in it and look up Big Water. And if you buy a device, which is pretty cheap considering the price of these devices, you may get up to a 50% rebate if you do so before April 30th. Okay, so also we would normally have Mike Michelini with us today, but he's in a few events. He's pretty busy right now. He's doing the Southeast Asia Blockchain Conference next week, and there's also a Decom Talks next week, which also coincides with his birthday. So happy birthday to you, Mike, in advance. I know you're listening. And
hey.
Yes.
Hey, yeah.
Hey, hello,
yeah.
Ann.
Yeah, how are you?
Excellent. How are you doing, Ann?
I'm good. Yes. Yeah, so next week we're excited for that. We have Decom nights and also celebrating Mike's magical birthday. Yeah, during the
Yeah.
Southeast Asian blockchain. Yeah, it's going to be held in Bangkok. And we're looking forward to meeting great minds and what's this? Great people in Bangkok. So will you be there, Jose?
I'll try to make it for sure. Yeah. I'm down with that. Not physically, of course, but I'll be around in cyberspace
Likewise.
as I usually am. Yes. Also, we're having some pretty exciting, well, besides all this Southeast Asia blockchain conference and stuff and the Decom nights, which of course there's lots of interesting people from the space attending.
Mm-hmm,
we're also having some pretty interesting developments on the Hamza front. The devs are working on the cross-chain payments. We're looking into supporting Bitcoin and Solana payments, but that's still in the works. It's going to take some time. But next week, the devs tell me they're also they're creating support for coupon codes so that sellers can issue discount coupons to the potential buyers, and they can go in and cash in their coupons and get a rebate on their purchases. So that's pretty exciting. And we're also looking to support seller and general public chat so that if anybody has an inquiry concerning one of the products that we sell on Hamza, they can directly contact the seller. They can do so now, but it's more of an indirect thing because you see, I'm the customer support guy, so most of the consumer inquiries are directed to me. But pretty soon that you'll be able to chat with the sellers themselves. So slowly but surely, we're getting into a full-blown e-commerce platform, just like we envisioned. So that's that on that front. And right now, let me talk a little bit about Drunetic, the Drunetic store, and our guy Casper, who's here with us today. And well, Drunetic is one of our first stores. It's one of our first seller cohorts. and Drunetic sells natural supplements from with various properties. So we're talking about natural medicine. So I would like to kick off by asking Casper, if can you please request to talk? Yes,
Welcome,
thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Casper. Casper, so how did you get started in the natural supplement business? How did that come about?
That came about that I was doing a lot of biohacking myself and optimizing my health. And by doing that, then sometimes you come across certain supplements that you want to use. And at that moment in time, I was in Europe, and actually it's not so easy to go to a normal pharmacy and get something natural and that's really good for your body, because once you start to get into supplements, you start to know that a lot of the bigger companies actually, they want to portray it's really healthy, but inside, if you look at the ingredient list, often there's things inside that is not very good for the body. And yeah, I came across that a lot of the times when I was searching for certain supplements. So it was actually hard to find something that was.
Yeah, I imagine. I imagine that's very difficult. And big pharma doesn't want you to be healthy either, right? Doesn't help. But Casper, when did you begin doing this? Was it before the pandemic or was it
Healthy, but
afterwards?
in reality, it's not really that healthy. And I think a lot of people come across this. Yeah, I'm not the only one. I heard the same story from a lot of other people. And that's actually what inspired me to create my own.
Oh, oops. It seems that I don't know about you guys, but I'm not hearing Casper.
Oh, so I hear him okay. Jose,
Oh,
how about
yeah.
me? Yeah, I heard Casper. Yes. So thanks for that, Casper. How about now? Are you able to hear
Can you
him?
hear me now, Jose?
Sorry, Casper. I mean, you're visibly talking, but I wasn't hearing you. So sorry I interrupted that time because I thought you were finished talking. I didn't get the last things you said.
Well, the
Sorry.
last thing I said was that that's the story why I got inspired to make my own. It was the fact that when you wanted to buy supplements for yourself, often you find that some of the supplements had dextrins or some kind of fillers or stuff
Mm-hmm.
inside of it that shouldn't be there. And that inspired me to make my own and to find a good source where you could get everything certified organic. You can get and you could customize it in such a way that you wouldn't have any of the fillers, or because normally when you work with any extracts from plants, most of the suppliers they would actually use fillers. Let's say you have a plant compound that is 95% pure whatever compound, then the last 5% would be some kind of fillers, and that would be maybe dextrins. And dextrins are a compound that actually spikes your blood glucose levels higher than sugar. So that's not really healthy for you. That's why to find a good source where you could create your own supplements and only use natural compounds, 100% organic. This is what led me to that. The fact that often you would struggle to find that in any pharmaceutical pharmacy across Europe when I was there, and sometimes also even when you go to find supplements on various online markets, there would also be often like hidden surprises that's not really that good for you. So that's why sometimes it can be difficult for the average person to navigate in terms of what is really good for me, because a lot of it is hidden in the ingredient list and sometimes probably they don't even show it. So for me, it was necessary to make my own and be sure that there was not going to be any adverse health ingredients inside of it. So like a pure product where no hidden surprises were. This is what I wanted to create, and this is also what we got now, actually. Yeah.
Yes, Casper, I understand dextrin is basically sugar, right? It's what
Yeah,
is that what they call excipients in a certain medical compound? Is that an excipient?
you have different dextrins, but most people have heard about maltodextrin, and yeah, it's a sugar product, and it spikes your glucose levels higher than sugar. So it's not something that you should really aim for to have, even in small amounts. I would not like it.
Yeah, but I imagine this takes a little bit, quite a lot of know-how actually to be able to find natural substitutes for these excipient compounds like dextrin. So do you have some sort of like training or have you had some sort of training or education before you started this project? Did you study pharmacy or something?
No, I didn't study pharmacy, but I've studied plants and extracts. And recently, let's say half a year ago, I did a course with the traditional Chinese medicine. So it's like, yeah, I'm bringing knowledge from different areas put together to
Well,
make a great product.
that's quite a lot of study there. I mean, here we have something called autochthonous medicine, which is what the indigenous people used, and they know a lot, but it's just not recognized formally
Exactly.
in the medical world, and that's a problem because these things. I mean, I personally believe they're way more effective than any pharmaceutical. Excuse the word crap that you put in your body. But yeah, I imagine so it was quite a rabbit hole that you dived into there. And Casper, I was going to ask you when did you start this? Was it before or after the pandemic?
Well, actually, this was after the pandemic. I think that a lot of people became very health conscious after the pandemic, and I'm one of them. And it led me down a rabbit hole to figure out what's actually truth about health, and who can you trust? Because a lot of people used to trust doctors and pharmaceutical all that, but then you see we have the sickest population probably ever. So the question is, should you look for somewhere else to trust regarding your health, or should you try to educate yourself to be your own doctor? This is one of the things they want people to be able to do in, let's say, traditional Chinese medicine. They want people to also be their own doctor, to understand their own body, and not give their power away to some doctor in an office which probably really don't know much about nutrition or lifestyle changes, and they would rather just subscribe you a pill, so you'd be a regular customer for the pharmaceutical industry. And I'm very much against that. I think that you should empower people to take care of their own health, and not just give them an easy solution and make them stay in their bad lifestyle if that's what's causing the problems. So finding the root cause in terms of just symptom treating. Yeah,
Exactly, which is more in line with the original medical ethos of, like
exactly.
let your food be your, was it Hippocrates or somebody who
Yeah,
said
let
that?
your food be
Let
your
your food
medicine. Yeah.
your medicine. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of stories of people post pandemics. My sister is one of those. She's a biohacker too. And yeah, the pandemic opened a lot of people's eyes. And like you said, it led them to take charge and responsibility of their own health. Because
Yeah.
most people look at a doctor as like, okay, here I am, cure me. But I understand that the natural medicine takes a different approach. It's like you're also responsible for your own health. So what would you recommend to somebody who wanted to learn about all this stuff and natural medicine to better appreciate your products that you're selling on Hamza, for example, like to appreciate how effective they are and for what ailments and conditions they're better suited. Where would you recommend somebody start learning about this? Is there any bibliography or resources that you can recommend?
Well, I think if I were to mention a great person which are very educational and that I also myself learned a lot from, would be the woman from Australia, Barbara O'Neill. She's very good at also mentioning a lot about her
Oh yeah, I love
natural.
her. She's there of her material out there on YouTube and stuff. So
There's
Barbara
there's a lot of,
O'Neill.
yeah, Barbara O'Neill. Yeah, she's really good. She knows a lot.
Yeah. So let's get into the products that you're selling that we're selling on Hamza. You have 4 products basically, and the product names are pretty much the plant, like the main plant ingredient. Let's start with, let's see, let me fire up the Hamza site and look at these products and go over them together and see if you can briefly tell us like what their
Yeah.
properties are, what they're used for and all that stuff.
Sure.
I think the first one that you have 5 products, if I'm not mistaken here, right?
5 on, yeah.
Yeah, the first one that I'm seeing is spirulina moringa. Now, moringa, I'm familiar with that because you see, I live in Venezuela and we have this plant and it's pretty widely used, especially among like old people and who know something about traditional medicine. They use it a lot. And I understand they use most of the plant parts, but can you talk to us about the spirulina moringa supplement,
Product.
please?
Yeah.
Yeah, the product.
Well, the thing is, when you look at like synthetic vitamin and minerals compared to natural vitamin and minerals, you can easily take out of proportion the synthetic ones. So example would be you have a lot of calcium, but not enough magnesium, or you have vitamin D3, but you don't have K2. So there's always like, it's like if you get too much of one thing, it can make an imbalance. Whereas if you get it from plant material, it's already in right proportions, so you will not get that imbalance. And basically this is why the natural side or more like the holistic side of supplementation, I think is sometimes a lot safer, especially if you are not a super professional biohacker, which knows exactly the ratio, what you need. Then when you take it from nature, you have already the right proportions in place, so you will not get like imbalances the same way. That was just to explain why some of the, let's say moringa, is very nutrient dense, the same as spirulina. So with this product, you'll get the right proportions of what the body needs. And also moringa and spirulina actually has 4 ingredients. It has wheatgrass as well, and it also has ginger extract. So they're all very alkalizing for the body, which means it's detoxifying the cells. It removes heavy metals, and it also upregulates the body's our own defense mechanism called NRF2. It's like a gene that is expressed, and while we age, this expression is minimized. But with certain plant compounds, it helps to express these genes again, and this is our own innate defense mechanism, which is very necessary for the body to handle any oxidative stress, and we are exposed to that every day, all the time, most people. And so in this formulation you have ginger, because ginger is always used as a synergistic herb. It helps move the other ingredients around the body with the blood, and that in that way it boosts the whole formulation, so it reaches all around the body. And so spirulina moringa is a detox product. At the same time, it cleanses and gives you a lot of energy. And it is very nutrient dense, so you at the same time get a lot of vitamins, minerals, what you actually need. And the new formulation that's coming out is moringa extract 10:1, so you'd actually get a bit more than the let's say the old product. In the test phase we had the normal spirulina moringa, but now we changed it to extracted form moringa, so it's 10 times more powerful as well.
Okay, so this will be a new product then, Casper, right?
Well, it's the same product, just enhanced.
Just enhanced functions. Yeah, I get what you're saying about the imbalances of minerals and vitamins and stuff. Yeah, that's a big problem. But I was reading on the description, it talks about grass. Okay, so spirulina binds to heavy metals. Yeah, because it chelates with the heavy metals. That's so they
Yeah.
bind, and microplastics. I find that super, super interesting because I've read, I don't know too much about the topic, Casper, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I read that microplastics is like a major health problem nowadays because we get most of our stuff packaged in plastics and we have just so much plastics inside our bodies that so much BPA and all that stuff that it's really, really interesting to see that this product helps get rid of that stuff.
Yeah, some of the algae like wheatgrass, chlorella, spirulina, this is some of the most cleansing for our body, to be honest, to remove things that doesn't belong. We have a lot of microplastic accumulating in the body, same as heavy metals nowadays. So to
Yeah.
have something like this to help you detox all that crap is very important, because the more it accumulates, the more oxidative damage or stress it also gives to the body. So to try to get rid of it and to minimize the damage, which is impossible not to get affected by, I think is very, very important for most people, for everyone actually.
Yeah, oxidative stress. I get that. And also I think it's important that this product restores the alkalinity. Most of us, due to our modern diet, we're way too acidic in our blood. So this helps to restore the alkaline balance, the pH.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have an autistic son, and so autism is mostly, well, there's several theories of that. One of the theories is that they have some problem in their guts,
Yeah.
and there's also the topic of metals, heavy metals, which is one of the theories that explains how autism is caused. But the problem is my son will not take anything like easily, any sort of pill or capsule or that stuff. So I imagine these things come in like a sort of like some sort of coating, and you can take it apart and maybe put the contents of the capsule or something into a drink that he's taking. Can you do that with this
Yeah,
product?
easy. Yeah, you can easily do that for sure.
I imagine the flavor is also not very strong because that's a topic with autistic kids. Like they're very sensitive to certain flavors and certain textures and all that stuff. So it's something that can go unnoticed if you were to do that, if you were to pour the contents of a
I
capsule
think,
into a drink.
well, depending on how sensitive he is, but I would say if you had like a juice, when you put something in the juice, the capsule in the juice, I think it would be okay. I think the thing is you can't really change spirulina and wheatgrass. Moringa is not the most like delicious thing to drink, but if you mix it with something else, it could go unnoticed, I would say. Yeah,
Excellent. So
depending on the system.
I'm already wanting to buy one of your products, Casper, but unfortunately it seems that you sell only within Thailand, right? Is that correct?
Well, I found a shipping company to ship it to Europe, but you need to buy more than one product for it to make sense. But yeah, I am sending some of it to Europe. I think I've sent a package to Spain and one to Denmark, and I'm gonna send two more to Denmark soon. And then there's gonna be products in Europe.
Any plans of expanding to the Americas, be it North or South America?
Well, I can send the package there as well. The shipping company do actually operate in Europe and America, and I maybe also South America, to be honest. But let's say Middle East, it doesn't. It's a bit harder to find
Yeah,
shipping companies to there.
some destinations are pretty hard to deal with, and logistics is something that's very complex. But just so that, Casper, recently, like in our last sprint, the devs developed some functionalities for being more specific on the shipping and handling cost of products available on Hamza. So that the seller is able to specify with, like, according to the destination country, you can specify the shipping cost. And maybe we should review after we next week. We should start reviewing if you're offering the product to other destinations. We could start
Sure.
reviewing, like making a list of shipping and handling costs per the destinations that you now cover. And also
Yeah.
I was thinking that maybe, because it wouldn't make sense to buy just one and pay a whole bunch of money just for the shipping and handling costs. So I imagine that with certain requisites, like if you're buying 5 or more, or maybe having the product in presentations of, like, say, a package of 10 bottles of spirulina moringa, for example, you're able to ship those to a country and pay so much in shipping and handling, that sort of stuff. Maybe we ought to look into that next week, Casper, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we can do that easy.
Yeah, because I mean, I think your product is, I love your stuff, man. I wish I could buy some myself. Lucky Mike, he bought some from you a while back ago, right?
Yeah, he did.
He's not here with us now. I know he's listening, but I think he owes us an unboxing and your review on Hamza, of course.
Yeah, sure. I think so too.
Yeah, I think we ought to get on that. So how's your Hamza experience been, Casper? How do you see a decentralized marketplace like Hamza benefiting sellers like yourself?
Well, I think it's something that we need in the future, because certain other online platforms, it can be sometimes really hard to get your product on there. And right now, since I'm based in Thailand, and sometimes some of the platforms there, they want a lot of documentation, and you're trying to find everything it needs, and then sometimes they just reject you without any real reason, and you can't get any explanation. And then you have a site like Hamza, which is straightforward and much easier to work with. And I think that the new sellers or upcoming sellers like me I really enjoy that it's more simple to work with and easy to work with compared to some of these other older online platforms, which are more, let's say, there's a lot of regulation and rules, and sometimes you have no support to understand what's the next step for me to have my products on here. And that can be a bit frustrating sometimes when you are new and you just want your product out there to be exposed, but you're not able to for some reason.
Yeah, I imagine that. I imagine it's like next to impossible to offer a product like this on Amazon. I mean, because
Amazon, I didn't even bother with that, because it would be probably you'd have to pay for having your stuff there the first long period of time. So you just not really, when you're upcoming, you also want to have some cash flow. So if you're just putting your stuff on a site and they actually charge you more than you earn, then it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Plus, I imagine that Amazon, being the centralized monster that it is, it wouldn't be too happy to have somebody go against the big pharma stuff. I imagine it's just me talking here, but yeah, there's probably something in it about that. So how did you hear about Hamza? How did you find us, Casper?
I met the Mike at an e-commerce meeting in Chiang Mai.
Oh, okay.
And after that, I just was quite curious, because for me, I like Web3 and I like crypto, and I think it's quite modern, and I think a lot of people will look into that in the future, because you have more freedom and you don't need to be, it's not as difficult to have for me to get my product on Hamza was fairly easy, and I had a lot of help and support compared to some of the other online platforms. And so, I heard from Mike, and I was curious, and I'm happy that I have my shop there now.
Excellent. Yeah, we're very happy that you have your shop with us too, because that's a lot of value. That's the kind of value that we seek on Hamza. Having sellers like yourself offer not industrial manufacturing, big pharma stuff, but the kind of stuff that you wouldn't find elsewhere. You could find it here. That's one of my dreams, actually, seeing a whole bunch of stuff like that listed on Hamza. Yeah, but I would like to ask you something, Casper. Is your clientele familiar with crypto, or do they are they used to paying in crypto?
There is some that I know is familiar with crypto, but the majority are not. But I think that it will change in the future, and most people will be using crypto. I think so. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I think so too. I mean, personally, I'm coming from Venezuela, and right now, I don't know if you've read anything about Venezuela, but there's a whole bunch of stuff happening with currency exchange controls and the U.S. sanctions on the country, making it very difficult for people to deal with U.S. dollars or U.S. dollar banking. So if, for example, I wanted to buy a product like yours, and I would have to pay it through the USD, through the normal banking rails and payment systems, I wouldn't be able to because I don't have access to that. It's just quite simply that's how it is. So
Yeah,
in this country, most people are flocking to cryptos just out of necessity because for us, there's no USD banking system or euros or any of that. So yeah, as I see, I don't want to get too much into politics, but as I see what Trump is doing, sanctioning countries left and right, I definitely do see a more of a future with these sort of platforms and cryptos in general. People being able
yeah,
to transact with crypto. And that's actually one of the main value propositions of Hamza, that not only are you able to do that, but since we use an escrow system, we don't manage the user's funds. We just, I mean, if I, for example, if I buy a product on your store, if I buy the spirulina moringa, which I hope to, sometime soon, I would make a payment, but that payment goes into escrow. What that means is that it goes into a smart contract. Okay. And then you start the order processing. You ship the product. You send me the tracking link. I am able to see if the product has arrived at the destination. And then once we know that the product is at the final destination, you mark it as delivered. You as a seller would mark it as delivered, and the buyer has to mark it as received, as completed. So once I do that, the escrow is released and you get your payment. That's it. I mean, no more
yeah,
fees, no more fees than is necessary. Like for example, Amazon and other e-commerce platforms, they charge you a whole bunch of fees for different things just for keeping your store and that stuff. Mike could better speak about that because Mike knows quite a lot about that. But Hamsa is different, so I see it as a very promising proposition.
yeah. I think it's the way to go. That you basically, it's like it's. I think it's always like that, isn't it? When some companies get too big, they just start to care less about, let's say, average person. And that's what we don't want. We don't want a lot of fees to be able to trade with one another. It should be between
Exactly.
the two
Exactly.
parties and not, yeah,
Exactly. I mean, while we do hope to grow, we're using a decentralized model, which means that we won't have a complete control, monolithic control over everything, over every transaction. Like we're going to freeze this seller's funds and we're going to screw him over. None of that. None of that, because it works as a decentralized DAO, and there's going to be a token to ensure that actors are doing what they're supposed to be doing, so that sellers are being honest and buyers are also being honest, because everybody's reputation will be on the blockchain. So we don't intend to have that monolithic control over everything like other e-commerce platforms do. So yeah, that's the future of Hamza. But I would like you to talk a little bit more about the future of Drunetic. And when can we expect more products, more updates, more? Is there any page we can follow to read about your journey or your recommendations for different products and stuff?
Yeah, I got an Instagram, and I'm sharing the product information, but I'm also sharing general, let's say, lifestyle ways to, healthy lifestyle recommendation, and that is inspired in how the body actually works and traditional medicine and what we used to do in the past, and not just what we've been told to do the last 100 years. So I'm sharing a lot of different things in there, not only products, but as I mentioned, also like health advice, longevity, lifestyle kind of advice. Because I'm quite fascinated by how the body really works and what the body is capable of doing once you give it the right conditions, and once you eliminate some of the things that is taking its energy. So I'm using my Instagram to do that at the same time. So it's not only pure products, but it's also like what to avoid and which things are good for you. And so to put things into, to try to get the average person to understand, it really matters sometimes, not only what you eat, but also what you eat, has been eating, or where it comes from, the source of your food, a lot of things. So it's not only the products, but also like general, I would say, longevity, lifestyle advice. Yeah.
That would definitely be of immense value to a lot of people, including myself. It's not just the body, it's also the mind and even, why not say it, spirituality. If you start taking responsibility of your health and your body, you're also begin taking responsibility of your emotional well-being and other facets of your existence. I'm looking forward to, and I know lots of our listeners are, I'm looking forward to following you on Instagram and seeing these updates. But right now, Casper, I'm just realizing by reading your store description on Hamza that we don't have your Instagram account there.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
So that's something we need to fix ASAP, man.
Okay.
Let's get on that next week or this week as soon as possible to fix that. Right now, I don't know if you were, I believe that you were able to get on the seller admin panel. You know, that's a functionality that our sellers have to be able to edit their store information and their product information. So if you were to go on your seller admin panel, I can help you with doing that later, maybe tomorrow if you want.
That'd be great.
Add your Instagram account, and maybe other social media accounts that you would consider worthwhile putting out there so that people can follow your information and your updates. That would be awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's necessary.
So, Casper, any closing thoughts on health or on natural health or decentralized e-commerce that you care to share with us?
Yeah, well, it's not only, I think the products that are going to come in the future as well is all going to have like an area of focus. Let's say one of the upcoming one is going to be very focused regarding insulin resistance, because most people nowadays is pre-diabetic. I would say 45% of the population in the world has some kind of problem with pre-diabetic. And that's a major problem, because that's also a thing like Alzheimer's is like a diabetes type 3. So the thing is, it's one of the most, vicious diseases that evolves to something horrible like Alzheimer's. So I think, given the conditions of the world, I think to make products that also helps to combat that and reverse it is very important. And that's one of the upcoming products that's going to be specific about this problem.
Yes.
So so sometimes I think you need to find, okay, problems and try to figure out which things can we do to solve them for the majority of people, and products from nature that can help to combat some of these very known diseases, I think is important.
Yeah, I mean,
So this is what
diabetes and Alzheimer, like you said, which is diabetes type 3, that's no joke. That seriously affects your life quality, and so I would recommend to anyone to start following your Instagram and your social media, which we will soon be putting out there on our Hamza store. And
Thanks.
Why not giving your products a try? I mean, I'm in queue for that. As soon as you start shipping to other countries, I will be able to purchase some of your stuff, man. I'm looking forward to that. So
thank you, Jose.
Casper, thank you so much for joining us on this Decom Talks. It was very educational, very, very interesting, and I loved it. It's been one of my best Decom Talks thus far. So thank you so much, Casper.
You're welcome.
Right, guys. So as a closing remarks, well, Casper, before you go, do you have any questions for us?
I don't think I have any real questions. I think that I'm excited how the Hamza market will evolve in the future, and I hope it will be bigger than some of the known platforms we have today, because I think we need something like this for free trades from party to party, and not too much of all the regulations and blah blah from the other ones. Yeah.
Yep. My sentiments exactly too. I mean, we need less of monolithic monopolies and more decentralized stuff where everybody can transact directly with each other from any part of the world without having somebody restrict you for any sort of reasons. So yeah, I'm also looking forward to that future. Can't wait to see it come to fruition, at least on where we're on the front we're fighting, which is the decentralized e-commerce front. So thank you so much, Casper. And
thank you for having me.
I think with this we can conclude our talk. So stay tuned for in the next 2 weeks for our Decom Talks number 5, where we will be having other interesting guests. And thanks everyone so much for joining us. Good night.
Thanks everyone.
So this is me signing off, and over and out.
Over and out.